shaded closer to that side? Should Gary have backed up more? What should have happened on that play?
Well, backing up isn't in our lexicon when it comes to that situation. We're trying to hold them out of field goal range. It's a 2-point game. We had just missed that field goal, and we got a chance to get the ball at midfield, get them stopped, maybe force them to do a long field goal of their own. We're trying to stop the first down there. And, we had injury at corner, trying to protect the corners a little bit more at that point, and we put the stress on the inside players, which was different than what we had been doing in that situation. What we had called was good against what they had called, but Ben recognized it. It's probably inside of the 15 seconds for being able to change the call. I think that it just turns into every defense has a strength, and they also have spots that that aren't as strong. Ben went to the spot right there. They made the play. But as far as being aggressive, we're trying to stop the first down right there. And that's what Nate's trying to do. So he sits down on that route because that's where the sticks are. And every position is important on the field, so I don't, and I disagree that we haven't spent resources on it. Like you mentioned, some of those guys we've had, we pay free agent money to guys like Nigel. This year we put some draft picks in there. We have the guys that we have. We're going to work hard to put those guys in good position. But I don't think from anyone's standpoint it's not a priority for us. Confident in the guys we have. We're getting the young guys up to speed. I think our emphasis on 11 guys playing better, not any one position. We'll work them in when it makes sense to the 11 guys on defense. We're in the business of trying to do whatever we can to win games and doing what we think is best to win games. And when it's time for those guys, we think it's best for us to win games with them.
Hello, everybody. This is All About the Birds, episode 48. We are live on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube. Just make sure you smash those like, share, retweets. We appreciate it. Johnny Uleka with Phil Stifel. We are waiting for Jeff Warner. He will be joining us. We have activated him off of the injured reserve, so he will be with us. We're going to talk a lot today. We're going to break down the Ravens and the Eagles. We're going to talk about the pressers from Doug and Jim. And good evening, Adam. And we're just going to dive into it. And my big thing is, the first thing I want to bring up is talking about what Jim said about how they put resources into the linebacker position. That's the funniest thing, because if you look at the amount of money they pay the linebackers compared to the rest of the league, they're 32nd. I think it's like $3.2 or $3.6 million. 32nd in the league.
It's 32nd in the league in money spent, and it shows. Our linebacking core is awful. I had a boatload of stats written down, left them all at the pizza shop today. But yeah, it shows. Nathan Geary, who is your starting middle linebacker, he played 100% of the snaps last week. He is 23 for 23 is what quarterbacks are throwing at him. 154.6 or 0.8 rating against him. There's only 2 linebackers in the league that are giving up 20 for 20 or more, and he is one of them. So it's just boggles my mind when Jim Schwartz makes comments like we put resources into the linebackers. It boggles my mind when he says things like Nathan Geary is good. It boggles my mind when he says that we made the right call there. Jim Schwartz, you want to talk about what he said there, but we just have to talk about Jim Schwartz as a whole and how disappointing as a defensive coordinator he is right now, and how he's trying to deflect the blame for the problem. And that's really what it comes down to, him deflecting the blame, which is really most of the problems that are on the defense are his fault.
Yeah, and you have a matchup coming up, and you have a dynamic quarterback coming up, and even, their receivers aren't the best, but they have a dynamic tight end with Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews can wind up putting up the same amount of numbers that George Kittle put up if you're putting Nate Geary on him. And, I just don't know what else they're gonna. There's really nothing that can happen unless an injury happens, and you don't wish an injury on anybody. So it's not. I'm just. I wish that they would kind of, not play him as 100% of the snaps is absolutely.
Well, I want to know who's the one making the decision on playing Geary, because all along, since he's been here in 2016, most people forget Jim Schwartz was hired before Doug Peterson was hired. We already had our defensive coordinator in place before our head coach. Jim Schwartz carries a lot of weight. Jim Schwartz carries a lot of sway when he's talking and what he says and what he does. It's his schemes. It's his players. But now all of a sudden he's making comments that it's not his decision. It's not his call. There's rumors from the Jeff McClain report that he doesn't even get to say who dresses, and Doug Peterson doesn't even get to say who dresses. That's how he's called. That's another whole thing, whether we talk about it or not. But the thing is, he said, again, I'm lost without my notes here. They're all sitting at work right now. He said something along the lines of he was asked about the 3rd and 8 play, and he stood by that being the right defensive call. Like he was asked 3 questions on it, and he said it was the right call. It was the right call. It was the right call. And then he was asked about calling a timeout, and he just flat out said, well, that's not my call. That's Doug Peterson's call. So I thought he made all the calls on defense, but obviously he does not, or he just doesn't want to take the blame for it. So what is it? Is he in control of the defense, or is he not in control of the defense? And that is something that the media here in Philadelphia really has to get an answer to in the coming days and weeks, because obviously Geary's not working out. We all know that. Davian Taylor played like 10 snaps. He made a few mistakes. He made a few plays. He actually stopped a pass. That's one more than Geary has all year. Okay. Alex Singletary, he only played in 30% of the snaps this week? I think last week he earned the right to play more than that. Well, so who's making these calls?
The other thing that I saw a stat of, I think Geary had 4 solo tackles, and all the snaps he played and everything. And Sean Bradley has had 3 solo tackles.
Maybe it was Bradley, not Davian Taylor, then that I was thinking of.
Yeah, Bradley. And, to me, like, why not play these younger players? You want to see what you have. Get them the experience. And a guy like Sean Bradley, he made a big play on Benny Snell when they had the ball, I think, like 2 or 3 yard line. He shot the gap, and he got the tackle. And he made another play later in the game. But why not Alex Singleton? Why not Sean Bradley? Now, these aren't household names, but you never know what you have. And
the thing is, we don't know what we have in them, but we 100% know what we have in Nathan Geary, and that is nothing. He has done literally nothing to prove and earn the role that he has on this team, and it's a disgrace. And why not play with just 10 guys on the field? I mean, that's basically what we're doing. Now, I got told I was wrong on it by a lot of people, but there was the play along the goal line where Nathan Geary was supposed to be spying on Ben Roethlisberger. And that was the play that Jalen Mills got the PI call on him in the end zone. Now, the thing that people don't realize, when you're the spy in the middle of the field, you got to play a little bit back, and you got to have almost like a zone. There's an area that you're playing. But when you're on like the 10 or 15 yard line, you don't need to be 10 yards off of you could play closer to the quarterback. And he was so far back off the quarterback that Ben Roethlisberger had a lane to throw the ball, but not far enough back to help Jalen Mills. So he doesn't even know where he's supposed to be on the field for the plays. And if he's your spy, that's what he's got to do against Lamar Jackson. If he can't spy correctly against 38-year-old or whatever he is, 2 lead feet Ben Roethlisberger, how is he going to spy and keep up with Lamar Jackson? I mean, it's not going to happen.
And my thing is, if you're the spy and your responsibility is the quarterback and it's not anything else, you need to either attack the quarterback, put pressure on him, get your hands up, do something to throw him. I understand there was a pass interference, but it's beside the point.
But if he's playing his role right, Mills might not have to make that passive interference play. The ball might not even get thrown there to begin with. And there's something about attacking in a spot. You don't want to necessarily attack, but you got to be at a spot where you can get to the quarterback. When you're rolling out to the sideline, which was what Ben Roethlisberger was doing on that play, you can kind of cut off the field. And it was so close to the end zone where it wasn't like Ben Roethlisberger was going to run around him. So he could have attacked a little bit more, put his hands up, and been in his face. And Ben Roethlisberger maybe doesn't make that throw. That's all we're trying to do is make real talk here. I mean, what were you going to say?
The issue with Nate Gary is why not play him 65, 70% and give those other percentage of snaps?
There was a couple PIs that were bogus actually in the game. Seemed like the refs had it against us the whole game.
And give those snaps to a guy like Singleton and a guy like Sean Bradley. And, you may get more out of Gary if he's on the field in limited snaps, not on the field 100% of the time. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but trying something else, but keep running him out 100% of the time and not holding any accountability. And we've talked about this time and time again with holding people accountable. If you or I are working and we're not doing our job and we're doing it at less than half or terrible, we're going to get called out, and we're going to have to be held accountable for our actions and what we're doing.
But see, the thing is, how can you hold Gary accountable when no one holds Jim Schwartz accountable? No, so I'm gonna put some trivia out there for you. I did the research a second time because this was important enough to redo the research when I got home. Okay, Jim Schwartz has been a coach, a defensive coordinator, or a head coach in this league for 19 years. 2001 was his first D coordinator spot, and it was with the Titans. He took 2015 off. Okay, so 19 years, either a D coordinator or a head coach. How many times do you so I did it for both yards, defensive ranking, yardage given up, and points given up. How many times has he had a top 10 defense in both those categories?
Probably 2.
Okay, he's in points given up, he's had a top 10 defense only 4 times. With the Eagles in 2017, with the Bills in 2014, in 2008 and 2007, okay? Never at number 1. In yards, 6 times. But here's the big one, okay? He's had the 20th or worst ranked defense in yards and points 7 of those 19 years. So he's had a bottom third defense more than he's had a top 10 defense. So why does this guy keep getting chances? Why does this guy keep getting, the opportunity? And these defensive players aren't going to listen to him because he doesn't have that great track record. I forget whether it was ESP or one of the guys, main Philly guys today put out there that Jim Schwartz is a great coach. People aren't giving him credit. Well, these numbers make no sense. He's had a top 5 defense only 3 out of 19 years. It doesn't make sense. Everyone know Howie and Jim are the head coach. And now, Jim Schwartz just called out today in his press conference and said, no, I don't have the say to do those things, is basically what he said. So he's deflecting the blame away from himself because he knows he's to blame. But back to the point, when you've had two number 4 ranked defenses, 1 number 2, and that's it. Everything else is 8, 10, and then in the 20s. How are your defensive players, your young guys, going to respond to a guy that doesn't have a track record?
The other thing to look up, and something I'm probably going to do a little research on, and something that I've thought about is players either their first or second year going up against Jim Schwartz's defense, their numbers, especially the last couple of years. If you have rookie quarterbacks and second-year guys, young quarterbacks, they put up pretty good numbers. Even look late last year for Washington, Dwayne Haskins, who isn't that great of a quarterback, put up pretty decent numbers. And if it wasn't for Carson Wentz coming down the field and putting together some great touchdown drives, that's one thing I want to look at, because that shows you in a lot of defensive coordinator. If you can't confuse or rattle a young quarterback, first or second year guy, and they're able to put up these points, the veterans are going to put up even more. And we've seen it. We've seen it with the Saints. We've seen it with tons. And the thing is, the defense is too basic. It's too vanilla. You don't blitz. It's huge issues that just don't seem to be getting solved. There's no adjustments. And we talked about that last week in the post-game show. The adjustments that just aren't being made. And the thing is, you have a team in Baltimore coming in here that they run a whole bunch of different formations. They run the motion offenses. It's
not just Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. They got Mark Ingram. They got Gus Edwards, who's averaging 5.7 yards a carry. They've got a lot of weapons. Their wide receivers aren't stout. They're not great. But here's another thing. We're finally on these stats. He's got the 30th or worse. There's only 32 teams. So the 30th or worst ranked defense as many times as a top 5 rated defense. That's how bad it is. But yet this guy's had a job for 19 of the last 20 years. It's pathetic.
It's all about who you know.
Is. Hey, thanks for the comments, everybody. Keep them coming. Drop your comment. If you got a question for us, what you want to know our opinion on, let us know. Anything, just keep throwing them out there. We love seeing it and all. We love to see the interaction. We appreciate it. So, I mean, I don't know what the step forward is here with the defense because obviously they're not going to make these changes. And we're going to be in for a long season if this is the case.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already in a long season at this point.
Yeah. 1-3-1. You're in a really long
season. We're already. Your record is what your record is. Yeah, we'll get into Wentz and Djax and all that in a minute or two. But, yeah. So, I mean, going forward, Gary's going to be out there again this week. Do you have any confidence about this defense stopping Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Edwards, and Mark Ingram? I mean, I have zero confidence in the defense stopping them.
Well, my thing is, what's going on with Darius Slay? He's in concussion protocol. I know he was out there, and that's who I'm going to bring up, Will Parks. I know you love your Will Parks. We've disagreed on it. I think you have Will Parks on the field, gives you less of Marcus Epps. Will Parks can do a whole bunch of different things. He may not be great, but he's going to be serviceable and a lot better than a guy like Marcus Epps. And I think he's going to be able to almost serve you as another linebacker out there.
If Will Parks is playing. So you asked Will Parks ready, is Will Parks ready? He was asked today about that, Doug Peterson. And Will Parks, he said, is healthy and he's good to practice. But they have to give him a day or two of practice to see if see if he's in game shape enough to play. And that seems to be where we're at. And again, I've been hard on Will Parks saying he's just a backup, but he's not great. It's not that I'm hard on him. It's just he's not a game changer, and we need a game changer. Okay? And that's not what he is. He's going to be an improvement, and we'll probably run more defensive back sets with less linebackers out there. But
he's going to be good again. He's very good against the run. He's very good in the box. And against a team like Baltimore, who's going to show you all these different sets, and they're going to run the ball with the plethora of running backs they have with Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, Justice Hill if he's playing. But they're going to give you the plethora of backs they got, and then using all those motions and using Lamar. Is Will Parks going to be a guy that's going to somewhat spy with Nate Gary or with another safety or a corner or something that they got? It's going to be interesting, but I think Will Parks being out there and getting a couple guys healthy and getting more players healthy is going to help the team. But it's going to be a huge challenge.
I mean, he couldn't do any worse. He could not do any worse.
Well, maybe, Nate Gary is playing like Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Basically, Manti Te'o's girlfriend would cover better at this point, obviously.
Exactly.
And we're really digging deep into the jokes for that one, but, I love it. Is Vinny Curry back? He is just like Will Parks. He's at practice. It just comes to, when you're, sitting out for as long as they do, they got to practice 1 or 2 days, see how they feel, how tired they are. They're not in game shape. So if he's not back this week, Vinny Curry or Will Parks, they should be back next week.
That brings up the question with Vinny Curry. It brings up about, Washington claiming Casey Toohill that they waived. Mm-hmm. And,
I was a big fan of Casey Toohill.
The thing with Casey, like a 24-year-old, yes, okay, he may not have been getting tons of snaps, but he's a young player that's groomed. There's no we talked about it, no preseason OTAs, all that kind of stuff. So he was just getting his seasoning, and you waive him because of a 32-year-old Vinny Curry. Yes, Vinny Curry's a veteran. Yes, he's an okay player. He can do a couple of things for you, but to me, that was a mistake. And I think Vinny Curry's gonna be back, if not this week, next week. But I don't know.
I mean, if Slay's not back, because Slay is out in the concussion protocol right now, then passing the ball scares me, because that means we got Jalen Mills and who else playing cornerback? Craig James, is he going to be your other starting cornerback? So Mills will be your number 1. James your 2. LeBlanc your slot. I mean, is that what's really going to run out there? I mean, that's not good. Slay makes up for the deficiencies of the other players because he doesn't need help guarding these guys, So I don't know. And this comment here, I didn't know Jim Schwartz ever blitzed. Did he? Because he hasn't blitzed more than 4 times in the 4 years in Philly total. Did he used to do it in Detroit? Maybe. I don't know.
Jason would know.
Yeah, Jason's a Detroit guy. He's my fantasy and gambling show expert that comes on every Thursday night, 8:30 when we do that show. I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating. It really is.
Just the thing that's so frustrating is the talent they have on that defensive line, and
it's going to waste.
Yeah, it basically is. They're one of the best defensive lines. They're at getting pressure, hitting the quarterback, sacks. They're all up there in the top 5. But the problem is the back end is bottom 5. Honestly, it's bottom 5. Yeah, McLeod's been playing really well this year, but he's nothing else.
He didn't really blitz that much in 2017. I'm going to go against you on that.
They had that rotation in 2017 with all those guys thrown out. They made a lot of pressure with the front 4.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot from the front 4. Sometimes when your front 4, front 5 are getting a lot of pressure, it seems like you're getting a lot of blitzing, but that's really not what they're doing.
The only guy they really blitzed a lot in 2017 is Michael Kendricks because he was a good blitzing linebacker.
Right.
But, who is available, but he's not a Jim Schwartz guy, and that's the reason he was out.
Well, is he not a Jim Schwartz guy, or is he not a Howie Roseman guy? Because at this point, I don't know which one's which.
Yeah, you make a really good point on that because the whole Howie Roseman thing, and I don't know what to make of it, and it's something that's I think it's gonna creep back up in the coming weeks, if not coming days, depending on what happens. But what he said right there, Lamar and Brown, Marquise Brown is an absolute burner, speedster. And if Darius Slay is not playing and you have Mills lined up one-on-one with him, that's double move right there.
Yeah, it's not going to work out in our favor at all. And it's a shame. And like he said, we need a yard sale. There are so many people that need to get rid of, but we don't even know who to blame or who to going to get rid of people because who's in charge? Is Jim Schwartz in charge? Is Howie Roseman in charge? Is Doug Peterson in charge? We're cruising for a bitter breakup in our front office and coaching staff at this point because it's that bad at this point.
Now, the one question, speaking of Lamar Jackson, the one question I have for you is Marty Morningweg is like a consultant. Marty Morningweg was with Lamar Jackson and implemented a couple things over in Baltimore with Harbaugh and the offensive coaching staff over there. How much does that help? Because also I did see that Jalen Hurts is going to take on the Lamar Jackson role in practice. I don't really go too much into that. But
he was asked Doug Peterson about that in his press conference today about whether, he wasn't asked about it with in regards will Marty help with Lamar Jackson, but he was asked about it, what they're trying to do with Jalen Hurts. And he said Marty is trying to mimic what Jalen Hurts, what he did a couple years ago with, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore when he was there, but it's just not getting the same time and the same effect that it did back then. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah. It's just.
Yeah.
But, switching over a little bit to kind of what Doug talked about. You want to play one of the clips of Doug?
Yeah, I forget which one's which now, so we're going to play the first one here that I got. I got two of them.
Yeah, I can't. Obviously, Le'Veon's a good player, and he's had a lot of production in this league. But I'm excited, about Miles, what he's done, getting Boston, interjected into the system, getting Corey an opportunity, and this is, thinking, this is a situation where, I think we have found our 3-down guy in Miles, and that's something that we've been looking for, as you guys know, and so we're thrilled about that, and we're also excited about the young guys behind him. Well, they're all young, but with Boston and Corey and even Huntley. I mean, this is a guy that has got some speed and athleticism. So, there's room to grow there. There's room to get better, but I'm excited about the guys we have.
So I've got so much on that little thing there. First off, he found his 3 down back in Miles Sanders. So then why is Miles Sanders 33rd ranked in the NFL in second half yardage? Why is Miles Sanders 25th ranked in carries? What? How is he your 3 down back if he's not getting the ball ever?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing because they don't give him any touches. He should be getting 25 touches. If he's your 3 down lead back, Doug doesn't make any sense because he also talks about, remember Corey Clement's the 4-minute man.
Corey Clement has 11 carries on the season.
Yeah. And Boston Scott should only be used out of the backfield. Should really here and there sprinkling. He's a third running back.
He's
Corey
not.
Clement is a
He's
special
not
team.
what everybody thinks he's this Boston Scott is this Darren Sproles guy. He's not Darren Sproles. Everybody's got to remember Darren Sproles is a once in a generation talent. He's a borderline Hall of Fame player. Yeah. Boston Scott is nowhere near as fast, as quick, or as experienced as Darren Sproles.
My only thing that I'll say on the Le'Veon Bell is if he's willing to come for, say, a minimum, but otherwise you can't.
Why bring it? Let's. There's a few things there. First off, the fact that a certain person on the radio said that Miles Sanders is not good, we need to bring in Le'Veon Bell, is a trash of a comment, and it was just a clickbait comment. Let me get that out of the way. But Le'Veon Bell, what's the point of Le'Veon Bell coming here when Doug does not run the ball? And when Doug doesn't run the ball with his most talented player? And Le'Veon Bell, right before we went on the air, I saw a tweet from somebody saying that Le'Veon has multiple suitors. He is going to go the place where he is utilized the most, not where the best chance to win, where he's going to be utilized the most. So he just wants to touch the ball. He just wants to carry the ball. He wants to get paid.
You want to know where he's going to go? I'm going to give you my
New
guess.
England?
No.
No.
Kansas City. I know they use Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I think he fits perfect for them. Out of the backfield throwing, but
I'm not. I mean, Johnny might like Le'Veon Bell here. I want nothing to do with Le'Veon Bell. Nothing at all. Miles Sanders is second in yards in the first half, but he's 33rd in yards in the second half. It's because he's not getting the ball. Why would if he's going to go somewhere where he wants to get the ball, he's not going to get the ball here, Le'Veon Bell. So he's not coming here. So let's just forget that talk. It's not going to happen. If it does happen, it's going to blow up worse than Antonio Brown coming here would have blown up, which I would still know that would have been a good pickup in the beginning of the season.
Chris has a good point there in Chicago, but
Chicago's a place. I thought New England would be a place for him. Jeff checking in because he can't get his computer to work right now. What's up? What's up? Philly podcast. He's saying Le'Veon wasn't relevant since 2016. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I think that sitting out for a season really hurt him a lot. He never got the momentum back after he sat out 2018. Jeff
hasn't been relevant for 3 weeks.
Yeah, Jeff. Well, he has a practice window, so at least he's tuning into the show. That's positive right there. So I like that. At least he's taking his phone to work or his computer to work, but he's checking him in. What are we talking about right now? Well, we transitioned from Geary and Schwartz. We're talking offense. We're talking about Miles Sanders, Le'Veon Bell. We've got to talk about wide receivers, and we've got to talk about Zach Ertz. So which one do you want to talk about next?
I want to talk about the wide receivers. The first thing that I want to say is with Deshaun and Alshon. I think Doug touched on it and talked about the way Fulgham has been showing out and the way he played, and I got to see which 4 or 5 give us the best chance. Okay, I don't know if you watched any of the practice film. I watched a little bit of because Fulgham was always first. From today. Fulgham was first, and then there was Alshon. There was 2 different clips.
One I saw Alshon was first, Fulgham was second.
Okay.
And Deshaun was last out of the whole entire group of wide receivers. So that leads me to believe that Alshon will be back this week. He was really close last week, but it looks like based off of that practice footage that your starting outside guys are going to be Fulgham and Alshon. And then I guess Ward is your slot guy with Hightower as your 4 for now.
You don't think they play JJ over Fulgham? I'm kidding.
Well, again, if Howie Roseman has this say that he does, hey, Fulgham might be inactive this week. Who knows? The way that they're thinking at this point, who knows?
But the thing was, watching Fulgham breaking in his routes and watching him and how quick and the way his feet were, and then watching Alshon. I know Alshon's older. I know Alshon's the veteran. Maybe he's not going as hard as a Fulgham would be going in practice because it depends.
Some of those routes that I saw him running on that drill, I forget what that drill is called and all, but he looked smooth. He looks like he's ready to go. And Alshon, when healthy, is a really, really quality borderline Pro Bowl, not all pro, but borderline Pro Bowl talent.
Yeah. He's going to give you that veteran, the sure-handed veteran receiver. Exactly. Fulgham is deserving of playing time. And the other thing that I saw was after practice, I guess Carson and Fulgham throw with each other to get a better connection. And something like that, if you have the quarterback has the confidence, like we saw in 2018 with Carson and Ertz, that confidence in the way he targeted them, and you have a receiver who goes down the field like Fulgham, and the catches he made, they weren't easy catches. A lot of them were contested. There were some he had to really get the high point in the ball, and I don't think you're getting much out of JJ or Alshon.
You're not getting anybody. Yeah, we're getting a bunch of trades. It's just not happening.
No, the thing is, I don't think Djax plays this week. I think he takes one more week. He's back the following week. But I think Alshon does play. I think you're right. I think it's Fulgham, and I think it's Alshon, and then Greg Ward sprinkle on the inside, and you'll have Hightower. And I think Quez Watkins may get a deep ball here or there. But
Hightower is getting a lot of crap this week. Everybody forgets he's a 5th-round rookie. Yes, he should have caught. He didn't get enough crap for dropping that touchdown pass. That is true. But he's a rookie. He's a speed demon, and he's running good routes.
He gets separation.
He's just not tracking the ball. And that's something that comes with time, and that's something that comes with experience. There he is, back from the dead.
What a freaking crap show.
You almost dropped an F-bomb live on the air.
I don't care at this freaking moment. Never let your woman. She's supposed to be a computer person, yet she leaves the computer on for 3 weeks while I'm in the hospital, however long it's been. Takes me an hour resetting it 10 different times, trying to get on this freaking podcast. I don't know what's worse, the freaking computer or Jim Schwartz's game plan this past Sunday.
Spazzy Jeff is back.
Yeah, Spazzy Jeff, woo! As our viewership drops like 10, 15 people instantly as Spazzy Jeff's back.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So we're on to Fulgham in the offense. We've moved on from Schwartz.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, Fulgham will play. There's no doubt about it. Hightower will be 4. My question is, if Fulgham plays well, Hightower shows a little bit of improvement. I'm not even worried about Alshon and Djax. When Reagor comes back, who's going to be the odd man out? We're still a couple of weeks from Reagor being back.
Yeah. Who's
the odd man out here? I mean, obviously my guess is Watkins because he seems to be lowest on the totem pole as the first one out. But if you get Jackson back, Alshon back, Fulgham's still playing well, Ward's got the connection for the 2-yard catches with Carson Wentz. Is Hightower going to sit?
No.
Or is Jake Jaw going to sit? I mean, They won't pull J. It took 3 years for them to get rid of Matt Collins. They're not going to move on from Hightower yet.
They have to go with the hot hand. They have to go with whoever's the guy that. Sorry, we're both clicking at the same time.
I've been controlling the comments for like 2 weeks now. Get off my comment board.
I'm sorry, I was in a hospital bed. I apologize. But I'll say
like assholes. Everybody's got them.
But they have to go with the hot hand. I would say what happened the first couple of weeks with D-Jack being back. They tried giving him on that snap count. It completely ruined the complete rhythm of their offense because I felt they were trying to game plan too much of getting Jackson the ball instead of Carson just going out there, going through his progressions, and just trying to play football. I felt with D-Jack out there and with those limited snap counts and with those play calls that Peterson was calling, they were trying. It was too much pressure on Carson, too much pressure to try to get Jackson the ball. So, regardless of Jackson, Alshon, whoever's back there, right now we're with a crowded wide receiving corps of a bunch of unknowns, but they have to go with the hot hand. I would say it's going to be interesting to see how Baltimore handles Fulgham this week because now there's game tape on him. We have 2 weeks of game tape to study him and study what Wentz and what Peterson's doing with this offense with Fulgham and the other guys out there.
I got a really interesting question. I'll pose it. You guys could both answer it because I don't even know the answer. We'll all agree that Zach Ertz looked like crap on Sunday, right? He looked disinterested, whatever. Okay. Again, I'm missing my notes, but somebody reported today that his body language at practice again today looked uninterested and not with it. Like he just doesn't want to be here. Okay. Right now, we've only got one tight end with him. I know we got Perkins and the other guy that they're calling up from the practice squad probably. When Dallas Goedert comes back, do they stop running so many 12 formations and 2 tight end sets and start going with these wide receivers and maybe Dallas Goedert a little bit more? Do those snap counts get a little, because still, even when Dallas Goedert was here, it was like something like 70-some percent Ertz, 50%, Goddard. Does that number get a little closer? Do we start seeing them out there 60-60 or Dallas Goedert a little bit more?
Well, what you're going to see, in my opinion of it, is when Goddard comes back, the thing is, if you have Fulgham still playing pretty well, if you have Rager back, if you have Alshon, Deshaun, Greg Ward, Hightower, you have all these receivers, yeah, they're going to play 12 personnel, but are they going to play as much if the receivers are playing really well? So there's options that they have, but you saw it early in the year. They focused on Goddard, and Goddard was playing really well before he got hurt. Ertz just
it's still a few weeks away still too.
The contract issues. He just doesn't, out of his breaks, a little bit lackadaisical. It just doesn't. I just don't know. Is he?
He's mentally and physically checked out. And
he's more than checked out. I would say you see when he's bumped on those routes, he just stops. I would say you can see Wentz is waiting. Wentz is looking for him. He's expecting Ertz in a certain spot of the field to throw the football, and Ertz ain't there. And I would say we're seeing a lot more from Ertz. I would say when he's, instead of continuing those routes, he's holding his hands up, drawing. He wants a flag almost every single play.
And yes, you know what? That one play that was the interception, a flag should have been called there. It was well past the 5 yards. It was illegal contact. Yeah, it's obviously an illegal contact play, but you play through that and you wait for the flag afterwards 100% of the time. And the other thing is, we've talked about on the show a million times, that who do you trade, who do you keep, Goddard, Ertz, you can't pay both, whatever. Well, Zach Ertz has just completely screwed himself on getting a big-time deal that he wanted, and screwed the Eagles because, there was talk that we could get maybe a first-round pick for Ertz or maybe a second and a fourth or something. We ain't getting a third-round pick for Ertz at this point, the way he's playing right now. Not at all.
You're probably looking at best, a fourth-round pick. And the thing is, with Ertz, you can't get rid of him because right now Goddard's hurt. You have Richard Rodgers. You have Hakeem Butler, who hasn't played yet. Jason Kroom. Jordan Franks, I think, is on the practice squad as well. Perkins is still on the PUP list or IR. He's not available. But you have absolutely nothing then. I understand that, his body language, he's not giving you much of anything, but he's still the name out there. They do still focus on him. But all I have to say is I don't see him coming back next year. And the way he's playing on practice field and on Sundays, his body language, the way he's acting, and just I just think he's disinterested. I don't really feel that he's fully committed.
Yeah, I don't know. But the thing is, at this point, there's nothing you can do about it right now.
No.
Okay. You can't trade him. No. You can't excite him to the extension he wants. If even in the offseason, what are you going to trade him? You can't at this point. And as Philly Insider Podcast is saying, Carson did not look bad this past week. I know he had 2 interceptions, but he definitely started to show some rhythm. He definitely started making more accurate passes. And you said Hakeem Butler. I was watching another show, and they were asked about – they had somebody that was at practice, and he's not looking good at practice from everything that I've heard, that he's dropping passes at practice, et cetera. So he might not even be, he was
basically –
to begin with, and he was cut from the Cardinals for a reason, or wherever he was.
Because he's moving to tight end, so it's a project type of thing. Like, same thing as the guy that they claim, which – he didn't count as a roster spot because the whole COVID thing, who they claimed off of waivers from Arizona, Brett Toth, who's an offensive lineman. So a lot of people don't remember that's a roster spot, and that's why they waived 2 guys with Graylin Arnold and Casey Toohill. They have to clear up a spot for him. But, it's to me, Butler's going to be inactive for, to me, possibly the rest of the year. If not, they release him. Yeah. But they want to try and see. He's a young kid. Maybe he may work out a tight end, kind of like how Vegas did with Darren Waller after the Ravens cut him. So not saying he's going to be him. I'm not saying that at all. But Yeah, Ertz a linebacker. No, Ertz can't even break a tackle. He's not.
I just
He's saying for a linebacker. Someone suggested trade Ertz in the offseason for a linebacker, which we keep on. Ertz right now has no trade value. I would say unless they get what they want, he's playing through that contract. He's playing this year and he's playing next year, and then
he doesn't even have the leverage to hold out next year.
No. Not at all. Not after, unless he has a break, unless he catches magic in a bottle and has a tremendous down the stretch season. I would say he has no leverage whatsoever.
No. I want to go back. I just thought of something, and I totally forgot it when we were talking defense and all. And I tried to research it. I couldn't find any information on it. Someone brought up along the lines on Twitter, some reporter or average podcaster like us, nobody podcaster, I don't remember who it was, that why not bench Geary for Jannard Avery? Because supposedly Jannard Avery played linebacker at some point. And if you go to his Wikipedia page, it does have linebacker listed there. But I cannot find at any point in college or the pros that he's played linebacker. So I'm not sure where that plays. He's 6 foot, 6'2", 250. He's a prototypical middle linebacker in size. Does he have any value as a linebacker in either of your eyes?
Did he play as like a pass rushing, like in a 3-4 scheme or something? Maybe they
linebacker. I couldn't figure it. I spent about 15 minutes trying to figure this out today, and I couldn't find anything other than his Wikipedia page saying linebacker somewhere on it.
So when he came out of college, out of Memphis, the type of defense Memphis runs, they play a lot. Their defensive ends, because last year they had a defensive end, Hunt, who was a undersized defensive end. And that's what Jannard Avery is. Undersized defensive end.
So it's more because of his size that he's considered a linebacker.
Yes. He's basically an outside rushing type of player. He's not going to fare any better than Gary. It's not really.
Yeah, but we don't really run a 4-3 very often. We're really running a 5-2. Sometimes, a 4-2. We've got 5, sometimes 6 defensive backs out there. You're just using him as your fifth defensive lineman, basically.
Basically, a 4-2-5 with another safety down in the box. Basically, the type of defense.
I don't know. It's just something I saw brought up, and I wanted to get your opinions on it because 2 weeks ago we saw Avery have a huge breakout game. Where was he this week? Didn't even hear his name. I don't even know what his snap count was.
I don't think it was much.
It wasn't. So how could you go from making such an impact 2 weeks ago in that San Francisco game to getting no time on the ball?
Blame your defense here.
Do you want to play the other Peterson clip?
Yeah, let's jump right into the next Peterson clip here. This is a fun one because this is something that we're all been waiting. Well, some of us have been waiting for. Here we go.
Fans out there for the first time. Obviously, it's not going to be packed, but to even have a little bit of fans, that has to be something special for you guys.
I mean, I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm so glad for this day to be here. To have fans in our stands. And to feel the energy of the crowd, even a small crowd, right? I mean, it was really good in Pittsburgh to have the fans there and just to see them to come out of the tunnel and to see people in our bleachers it's going to be exciting. We've talked about it before. Our players are going to feel energized to have them there and to have our families back in the stands is it's important to them. It's important to us, and we're really looking forward to it.
It's going last week in Pittsburgh and just having some fans kind of change the atmosphere, change the environment, and I know it'll be even different being at home. It's still different, it's still kind of weird, not packing the house, so to speak. But like you mentioned, I mean, it takes you back to high school scrimmages, middle school scrimmages, those types of things when you're playing in front of no fans, and it's just kind of sometimes an eerie feeling out there when it goes silent. But having fans out there definitely motivates us a little bit more, and we love playing in front of the fans and can't wait for the day when we can really pack that house. But this is a start for sure.
Fans are back at the link this week. 7,500 max. I heard that does include the media members.
That includes media. That includes the players. That includes any staff that needs to run the stadium. So I think roughly per game right now it's going to be a little bit over like 5,500 or tickets.
Yeah, somewhere about 5,500 to 6,000.
Yeah.
So by the way, before we touch on that, I did look. Avery only played in 14 snaps last week. For a guy that made such an impact the week before, he played 14 snaps.
Yeah. That's on your coaching staff. I'll say that.
We were talking. I know you weren't here, but we spent a lot of time talking about who's making the decisions on this coaching staff.
But
it sounds like Schwartz after the press conference, and the fact that
Schwartz has no say after the press conference. It sounds like.
Well, I'll say the fact that Schwartz threw Peterson and Hallie under the bus twice. I'll say he threw Doug under the bus for that timeout, I think, on the defensive side of the ball, or whatever the timeout issue was this past week. And then when he was asked about the linebacking position, and I'll say as far as personnel, he's like, I'm not the one that has the same personnel. So that's Hallie and Doug. So I would say. I don't truly believe that. I would say I know he's throwing him under the bus, but he has to have some type of say with his defensive scheme. I know the Eagles front office a little bit. I would say from covering them over the years, and they asked a lot of input from their defense, from their coordinators as well as the head coach. So yeah, Doug might have the final say, but I'm sure he asks for his input from Schwartz. And I'll say Schwartz just hasn't done a good job. I would say the fact that I would say he hasn't put his guys in position. He keeps on putting Jalen Mills at corner safety. He can't play freaking anything in defensive back whatsoever. And I would say the fact that you're getting burned in man-to-man constantly, I understand you have Darius Slay here, who's a great man-to-man corner, but the rest of your personnel isn't set up for that. He needs to do a better job getting his defensive scheme in order and adjusting on the fly, then put them in position to stop opposing offenses a little bit better, because they have a tough task this week. I already
said there's going to be most likely no Slay, so you're rolling out there with whatchamacallit, Mills as your number one cornerback this week.
Yeah, and I'll say I understand the Ravens offense isn't the offense from last season, but they're still putting up points. They still have the defending offensive MVP from last season. They still have a lot of speed, and unfortunately, this defense they have. They keep on getting. I would say they need to figure out something with those misdirection wide receiver handoffs, because the past 2 or 3 weeks they've been getting burned constantly from opposing teams. And I'll say the one issue, I'll say one matchup which we'll get into a little bit, that I would say that's going to be a problem, is Mark Andrews. I would say a couple of weeks ago, Tyler Higbee had a tremendous game against us and torched us. I see another big game then trying to contain Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, who's possibly have a big game this week against this defense.
And we'll touch on all that. I want to get back on the fans. The big thing with that, I understand you got a great team coming in, but some players, it's just, even if it's not a lot of fans, there's still a little bit of noise. And like what Carson said, it's not that eerie silence. There's not fake noise coming in. There's people there. And I think it may pump up the level and get them a little bit juiced. And, maybe it's something the Eagles need. They can boo Nick Gary when he misses a tackle or misses a play on Mark Andrews.
To answer Robert's question, our defense is ranked 13th against yards given up and 24. What's that?
23 in points allowed, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got that. That was the next thing I was going to say. I had 24, but 23, 24 in points allowed. So they're not ranked good at all. You're not going to win a lot of games when you're 23rd, 24th in points given up.
No, the only stat they're somewhat decent in, I would say, which was over last couple of weeks, is their sack numbers. I think they're still number 1, number 2 in the league in sacks. Yeah. So I'll say, besides the pass rush, the defense, especially the back end of the defense, has been horrendous. I would say linebackers, the secondary.
But as the Philly podcast guy, whoever that is, or girl, it could be a girl, said, I'm not sure who it is. Well, first off, this one here from before, if every player that we've drafted from 1 to 4 has gotten a snap except for Davian Taylor. We don't know if Davian Taylor can play or not, because he hasn't even had one snap on defense yet.
Just special
teams. Singleton, Bradley, Taylor, all go out there. I mean, they can't do any worse. You might as well let them out there. And then he brings up even Michael Jaquette from the practice squad. There are guys that we don't even know if they can do anything. The guys we are playing can't do anything. So,
The thing is, on that point, when he said play the young guys, Green Bay has a cornerback that played in 2018 for the Eagles, Chandon Sullivan. And people said, oh, this guy stinks. We don't even know who he is. We don't know who he is. He's a key part of Green Bay's defense. Just 2 years later, because he went to Green Bay in 2019, he got more playing time. He's played. I'm not saying he's an all-pro or a Pro Bowler, but he's a serviceable cornerback that would probably be starting, if not right behind, being able to give you good playing time. But, it's just, play the young guys, but you put all the young guys in. Is it you saying just forfeiting the rest of this, not forfeiting the rest of the season, but just saying, giving it in. Like I said, I would play these guys more than I have played.
Kayvon Wallace at safety as well. He's not getting enough snaps. He's not looking bad. He's not looking great, but he's not looking bad for a young kid. He's saying play Geary on special teams. I don't think he could do that pretty well. I want to touch on something. I meant to bring it up, Johnny, on the post-game show. We don't often think about the return game, kick return, punt return. But Boston Scott got 3 opportunities to return kicks in the last game, did not get the ball to the 20-yard line once. Why is he your kick returner? I know there's not many other options, but
that's why.
That he was not very good at it. So it was something I talked about or wanted to talk about in the last show, but never got to. But it just brought that up and made me have to bring it up.
Just to touch on that real quick, if I'm not mistaken, if I go back and rewatch those, do you guys notice there's a player on the very outside near the sideline that comes running across the field, and every single time
I don't really pay attention to kickoffs.
It's just every time the guy came across the field, it seemed like he was running across the field, and the guy that he should have just blocked that instead of running across the field was the guy that come in and make the tackle. The thing is, to me, I'd rather see Corey Clement back there, a little bit bigger of a guy, but I don't know. A kick return really isn't. It's not what it.
I mean, how often do we really get kick returns? But still, you know what? I was watching. I don't remember if it was the Monday night game or the Tuesday night game that there was multiple kickoffs returned, and they were all up to the 30-yard line. They were making
probably yesterday.
Yeah, and on top of that, the punt return, you got Greg Ward. Sometimes you got a different person back there, returning punts, and they aren't making any. I mean, Greg Ward. I know some people out there really love the Ward horde, but Greg Ward could not outrun a chicken. Okay, so the chickens that are in my yard right now, he couldn't outrun them. So we're going to make any separation there either. So it's not good there. But I mean, we keep getting sidetracked away from the fan talk. Did we not want to talk about the fans?
I gave my input. I said I think it's going to.
I'm happy with the fans being back. So yeah, let's move on. Let's move past all that. Keys to victory.
Go ahead, Jeff. Since you've been missing, what's your key? Your one key to victory?
One key to the victory.
Sound effects kid. Hold on. I love it. We haven't had a sound effect in 2 weeks. Play the sound effect again for me.
What's that?
I want to hear the sound effect again.
Oh, okay. You want me to hear it again?
Yeah.
There you go. Key to the game for the Eagles, I would say, of course, have to play better on defense. I would say it's going to come back to containing Lamar Jackson. I know last week he didn't have the greatest game. They might be getting him at the right opportunity, but he's still an offensive playmaker. There's a reason why he was the MVP last season. They have a lot of offensive firepower with Marquise Hollywood Brown. The running game has been tremendous for them with Lamar Jackson being that dual threat option. So I would say the big key is containing the running game, containing Lamar Jackson, and just playing better on defense in my eyes.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'll let you go. I like to go last. You guys get yours. I've always got 4 or 5 random thoughts.
My key to the game is going to be protection. Protect Carson Wentz. We don't know if Jimmy Johnson's going to start at right tackle. So with his ankle injury, I think it's going to be more of if he's going to be healthy enough, which I don't think he's going to play. I think it's going to be Driscoll out there. You need to protect Carson Wentz because you have Matt Judon, who's one of the best pass rushers on Baltimore's team. Tyus Bowser. You still have Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams. They have a plethora of good defensive players. We talked about it last week with Pittsburgh. That's the big thing is protect Carson Wentz, keep him upright to let him be able to attack downfield.
Well, especially since I would say last week against Joe Burrow, they sacked him, I think, 6 or 7 times, 4 or 5 of them from the defensive back. So their defensive coordinator is going to be designing a bunch of different blitz packages, especially if Lane Johnson's out there. I would say they're going to have to come up with some type of block protection up there, like you said, to keep Carson Wentz upright.
All right, so I'm going to go a little different way with my key for the victory of this game. And it's kind of a 2-parter here, is the voice of the team. Is somebody in the coaching staff, Doug, Jim Schwartz, somebody else, going to step up and show that they're the leader of this team? They're going to, have a game plan, and they're going to lead this team with the right game plan, not just whatever is working. And I think the fans being there helps because they're not going to want to be embarrassed in front of the fans. And also, both Doug and Jim Schwartz were asked in their interviews about leadership on defense. And they both just danced around and refused to answer the question. So is somebody's voice on that defense going to step up and say, yo, guys, who's going to be that Malcolm Jenkins? A key to victory is somebody stepping up into that leadership role, because there is talent on this defense, not at linebacker, not with Slay out at cornerback, but there is talent on this team. Somebody needs to step up, be that voice and leader, and lead them to victory.
Well,
And I think that can actually help if somebody would actually motivate these guys.
the whole Slay thing is saying he is out because he did have the helmet on and everything and went through light practice. That's a good sign with the concussion protocol. So
yeah, it is. So he's not out for sure yet. It's just not trending in the right direction yet.
No.
But,
yeah, he's saying Rodney needs to be the leader. Everyone said Rodney was going to step up and be that leader of this defense, but he hasn't proven to be that.
Him and Mills, I was saying training camp, he had that locker room meeting and all that. You thought he was a guy that's going to be stepping up?
Nobody is. Fletcher Cox never opens his mouth. Fletcher Cox seems to be the quietest, $800 million man or whatever he is. Somebody's got to step up and be that leader. And, yeah, as Julio said, kill the music, Jeff. The music's been terrible. We can't hear each other.
You wanted the effects, so.
Yeah, Julio, he's just getting happy. He hasn't been here for 2 weeks. He just wants to play as much as he can on his thing. So, who's going to step up as the leader? That's the key to the victory. If no one steps up to be the leader, we're not winning this game.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about with basically stepping up as a leader, Brandon Graham also, I understand, he's a veteran on that defense, but this defense and the players and the personnel, the veterans on this defense, they're not like the veterans that we grew up, like Jeff and I at least, grew up watching with, Dawkins and Trotter and Hugh Douglas, Troy Vincent, Bobby Taylor, and these type of players that you get kind of spoiled. Mm-hmm. That you had these type of leaders, and even Malcolm Jenkins, he was a leader, he was vocal. He'll tell you, it's when you miss that, it's a little bit. And we talked about leadership with Malcolm and what it was going to, the impact it was going to be, and how it was going to be felt. And you're seeing it. It's definitely being felt. You're throwing guys out in the secondary like Marcus Epps and young Kayvon Wallace, who really isn't ready yet. They're not going to be nowhere close to what Rodney McLeod was when Jenkins was. McLeod's supposed to be that leader, but I don't know. I'm not feeling too confident in someone stepping up as a leader. I think it's just going to be it's going to be like the same it's been.
I was told to scroll to this comment for you there, buddy. The game, Chance and Sullivan, Devontae Bosby, there.
Yep.
About that.
Devontae Bosby is a role player for the at the end of the roster for the Broncos, but he's on the roster. It's it sucks because there's players that are able to be developed and they're just not being developed. And we've talked about that too. On the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. If you're not developing these young players, it doesn't matter. I know one of our writers talked about draft pick retention and how Washington had the highest out of the division and the Giants were second highest. It's all about who you can develop. Yes, I am a Mariners fan. It's okay. Ken Griffey Jr.
All right, let's keep moving on. This show's dragging on like awful here. Let's do our Eureka locks. You got your lock sound? There we go. We got another sound effect. Johnny, give us the stats on the locks.
What stats?
Like, what are the records last week?
I don't have the records. I didn't.
You've been doing it every single week. You've been shouting out what we went last week.
Well, because Jeff wasn't here.
Oh my God, you guys are so unorganized, so awful.
You can look it up while I talk about mine this week.
Well, I know I went. Let's see, 0-1, 1-1. I went 2-1 last week in my locks. Just so you know.
Well, my locks. Remember, I had Denver, but then I switched it because Denver's canceled, and I said if they canceled, it was going to be was going to be the Giants at plus 9.5, which I got that one. Yeah, I failed on that. But I also picked the Eagles, which it was a loss. And I forget the last one I picked. So
yeah. Well, whatever. Let's get back to it this week. I'll go first since you don't know what you're doing there. You know, my locks this week, the 3 ones I'm placing money on, and we'll get into more details on the gambling end tomorrow night at 8:30 when Jason Sullivan, Josh Gamble, and I do all the fantasy and gambling information that you want. Definitely check it out. All these networks, all 3 of us, we talk everything you can. But my locks as of now, I got the Browns +3 against the Steelers. I got the Titans -3.5 against the Texans, and the Panthers. It's basically a pick'em game at -1. They're playing the Bucks, but I'm gonna go or not the Panthers, the Packers -1 against the Bucks. So I got Bucks -1, Titans -3.5, and Browns +3. They are my locks of the week.
You going, Jeff, or want me to go?
You go. I'll say I wasn't prepared. I didn't pick mine, so I'm going through the line.
I am so proud to be a part of this team right now. You guys are on the ball every second of the day.
2 weeks without income. I've been working all day. I'm sorry. And this morning, so about 9 o'clock this evening.
I own a pizza shop. I worked all day too.
Yeah, but you can take breaks whenever you want, and your income's based off your pizza sales, not how much you're driving around like me.
All right, so getting back to the football aspect and not about our boring personal life. My locks this week, I have Atlanta +3.5. Fired their coach, their GM. I don't know. I just have a feeling that they're able to beat Minnesota. Minnesota, I don't know, did Dalvin Cook play? I know he was beat up. I know he came back.
Dalvin Cook's probably out.
So I got Atlanta +3.5. I have Arizona -2.5. I think Dallas's defense cannot contain Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Kenyon Drake, Christian Kirk. And I think Andy Dalton will kind of come down to earth, everyone thinking that he's going to just take over right away with Prescott being out. I think they'll struggle, and I think Arizona will win that game. It'll be a close game, but I still think they cover the -2.5. And then the last one, I have Jacksonville. I'm not forget who they play. I don't have it written down. Jacksonville +3.5. So
man, you guys you don't even know who you're picking against. You're just picking random names.
They're facing the Lions.
Lions, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Jason Sullivan, where are you? Josh Gamble, he's picking against your Lions, even against Jacksonville.
I just think Jacksonville puts up points against Detroit.
Maybe what do you got, Jeff?
My 3 picks, one of them similar to you, Phil. I would say I see that the Packers are -2, though. So -1, -2.
It depends on what site you're looking at. I go off of FanDuel Sportsbook, so we all do something different.
Okay. Packers, I'll go same with you then, -1 over the Bucks. Just, I don't know, big fan of A-Rod.
Basically a pick'em game, you know, who's going to win, you know?
Exactly. I would say I feel the Packers have too much firepower for the Buccaneers really to control.
And coming off a bye.
Godwin, I would say he's been injured, so we all know the health of him and the weapons for Brady. So, and then after last week's little senior moment that he had, so of course I'm going with the Packers on the road. For game 2, I am going to go. Where was it? Where was it?
Guys, just so everybody listening knows, my fantasy and gambling show tomorrow night is much more organized, and the guys I have with me have their shit together.
I'm gonna go Chiefs -3 over the Bills.
Yeah,
and then similar to, I would say we'll get into it, but I'm sorry, I have to go Ravens -8 over the Eagles. So you can kind of figure where I'm going with the pick today tonight for the Eagles game.
So I'm just going to drop a little bit of fantasy knowledge. Some of the things that we're going to be covering tomorrow night. You know, we talk daily fantasy mostly, but we will dive into the Dak Prescott issues for your season-long fantasy. Where you're going to go. I had Dak Prescott. I'm trying to make moves to fix that hole, fill that hole.
Did you get
worked out with somebody on this screen right now? We're just waiting for it to go through and everything. But we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about whether Andy Dalton's a viable option. And we'll talk about the best stacks for the week, which I know it goes against – who just picked against the Vikings? Did you, Johnny?
I did.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings are a great stack this week. Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, and Madison, who's filling in for Dalvin Cook. I think it's a great stack. And also picking against again, I think Detroit's a great stack this week. It doesn't mean we like them to win the games. It's just they're going to be playing from behind, and I think Stafford Galladay is a huge play this week in Daily Fantasy. So we'll get all that information tomorrow night, 8:30, right here on All About the Bird Network.
Speaking of fantasy, I've won 3 straight now after you made fun of me of starting 0-2. And
my team's tanking. I'm 0-2 in the last 2 weeks.
And you lost your starting quarterback, and you had no other quarterback. So
4-1,
can we touch on that for a second? That's a brutal injury.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for the guy. He played on that franchise tag, couldn't get the deal, and now he ain't getting that big deal now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough.
Brady is losing back to back.
Yeah,
100%.
This ain't the Brady in New England. So unfortunately,
who looks worse at this moment, Brady or Breeze?
I think Breeze does.
Breeze,
yeah.
He's lost without Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely. But even without Thomas, Breeze does not have any zip on his ball at all anymore. I mean, he doesn't even look like he's confident when he's throwing the ball. Like he thinks he's checking down a lot. It's really sad to see.
Yeah.
All right. So picks of the game, Jeff. I obviously know where you're going because you picked the game.
Until this defense can show me that they can play against top offenses, I would say Lamar Jackson, I feel, is going to have a field day. And I feel the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, I would say he's going to design a bunch of different blitz packages and attack our offense. I would say they're one of the top rushing defenses in the league. I don't expect a big production from Miles Sanders once again. The Eagles traditionally struggle against 3-4 defenses in their history. So, unfortunately, I would say I want a competitive game. If I'll hold my head high for the Eagles if they play competitively, if they don't get completely blown out. But I feel the Ravens pull away a little bit later on, a couple big key turnovers, big stops. I see the Ravens winning this one 28-17, something along those lines.
Go
Johnny,
ahead, Phil. I'll go last.
No, you go, Johnny.
All right. So, looking at Baltimore's defense.
Love the confidence, Lawrence. Love the confidence.
Love the confidence.
I'll be confident after this week when they play our 3 straight divisional matchups against teams that have combined 2 wins. So I'll say that's when I'll start getting my confidence back.
But looking at the Baltimore's defensive ranks, they rank 15th, giving up 243 passing yards per game, giving up 66.7 completion percentage. The rush defense is pretty good, 92 yards. It's 5th in the league. Overall, they've given up the 6th most yards, but only 15.2 points per game. And like Jeff said, their offense isn't as dynamic as it was last year. Fans being back, if Will Parks is back, I think that's going to help the defense. I'm not saying he's a star, but he's going to definitely help the defense. If Alshon's back, Fulgham, Sanders, with the fans, I'm going Eagles 28-27. I'm going to stick with the Eagles. Going to be a super close game. 28-27, Eagles. I'll go with the Eagles. I may get killed, but I'm going to ride with them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wrote 2 scores down, okay? I wrote an Eagles victory score and an Eagles loss score. I wrote 28-17 Ravens down. Oh. But since Jeff just made that pick, I crossed it off, and I'm going to go with the Eagles. I said after the 49ers game that they had to win one of the 2 games against the Steelers and the Ravens.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has looked better the last 2 weeks.
But
since Jeff already picked 28-17 Ravens, just so you know, it does say it there. You can't really tell, but it does say 28-17. I had that written down. So we're going to flip the switch. We're going to go Eagles 31-28. Alshon is a potential play. He practiced a lot with the ones for the part that was open to the media. Deshaun did not practice much today. So there's a really good chance Alshon's playing this week. So yeah, Eagles 31-28 over the Ravens. Man, I don't know why. Crazy. I'm not betting the game. I'll stay away from that +7 or +8, whatever. There's no chance I'm betting this game whatsoever. But yeah, honestly, I should probably say 28-17 Ravens also. But we're just going to go Eagles because why not?
I wish I was as optimistic as you guys. I hope for a victory. It's not like I'm going to root against them, but
the fans being in the stadium is also going to make a big difference. The players do not want to be embarrassed. Even 6,000 fans booing will make a difference.
Yeah, they're going to be booing them after they freaking Carson has another turnover. Or
and that might motivate him to not turn it over anymore. It might finish running his routes.
I'm sorry. I'll say it's great to have fans there, but I really feel it doesn't play that much of a factor. It's this ain't Seattle. This ain't Denver. This ain't like those huge atmospheres. So I'll say, yeah, it's great to have fans, but until our team can play better on the field, that's what needs to improve. Offensively, Carson has played better, but if Lane Johnson's out against this stingy, physical defense, I would say, yeah, Fulgham's had great games the last couple of weeks, but he hasn't gone against corners like Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters and these guys. They're going to be physical at the line. They're going to shut a lot of these routes down. So I'll say we have to rely a lot on Miles Sanders and a lot of the short passing game to really score some points. So I'm hoping for a victory, but after this week, it's basically a cakewalk. The Eagles control their destiny still. Remember,
even if they lose, they still control it.
Yeah, we're only half game out. We have the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Giants. If we win those next 3 games, we're right back in the thick of things and control our destinies in the division. Regardless.
But if we win this week and then win those 3 games, then where do we stand? Then people are not talking bad about us anymore.
No, the thing is,
it depends how they win. If the Ravens lose this game, then I don't see people talking about us. But if we play like we know how Carson, this team can play, then yes, I think it sort of puts us back on the map. Just like I forget which announcer was talking about today, but he had the audacity to say Andy Dalton is still the class of the NFC East. Yeah. In as far as the
Cowboys fans think that they're not going to lose a beat with Andy Dalton in there, and that's Andy Dalton's a good quarterback, and it was a great pickup as a backup, but he's no Pro Bowl quarterback anymore.
Andy Dalton since 2016.
I hope so, Lawrence. I hope Ertz has a breakout game. And we'll trade him right after.
So Andy Dalton's 15 games under 500 since 2016.
Yeah. And he still had talent. He still had A.J. Green sometimes. He still had Joe Mixon sometimes.
Give him credit. He did lead the crappy Bengals to the playoffs a few times, so you have to give him credit for that.
Oh, he's a good quarterback. I always liked him.
Yeah, but he's not better than Carson, no doubt.
All right, you got anything else to say here before we wrap this show up?
Let's end this up. I need to get back to work.
I have one thing to say, and then I want to give a couple shout-outs, a couple thank yous. I have Travis Fulgham, 7 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown this week. You can write it down. That's what I'm going to go with.
Right.
But I want to thank Last Out Media. You can follow them at Last Out Media. We stream on their site, lastoutmedianetwork.com, on Fridays, 10 a.m. I want to thank at Heat Ratio Sports, Tony Cotillo and the guys. They do a great job. I want to thank at Athletes Hub. Those are all the Twitter handles. Athlete Hub, you can check them out. We want to thank all of them for your support, everything. Just us 3, just grinding, just, trying to, give you some Eagles info, give you our takes, everything like that. But great team here. All of us put in so much work. We all do great things for the brand here. We appreciate all the comments, everyone listening, everyone following us. And, we just thank every single person. But you can follow us at All About the Birds, at AAT Birds on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our YouTube channel. Follow.
Sunday post game as well.
Sunday post game right after the game.
Right
Jeff,
here.
Jeff, will your computer work for that one?
Freaking hope so. I'll make sure about it.
We will be live to discuss whether it's a win or a loss. Bring your comments. Bring all your insights. Bring your questions. We'll be here like we always are. And the only thing that we always end it with, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.